You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Classic T-Wolves tonight here. Jack blowing a 12-point fourth quarter lead and giving up 43 points in the fourth quarter to Utah. Not OKC, not San Antonio, not Houston, to Utah. 122-127, that's your final. What's going on back in the lab, back at it? Another T-Wolves postcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks to you guys, the number one sports podcast network in the country, by the way. Jack Borman, Wolves expert, NBA expert. Give him a follow on X at JR Borman13, Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman, and of course, follow our guy Ben Beacon, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show each and every day as well. Lots to get into, Jack. Biggest second guess from tonight, a biggest turning point from tonight, what we'll be talking about tomorrow. But just off the top, I just feel like we say it all the time, right? They can beat anybody in the NBA on any given night, go toe-to-toe with, best of the best. They can take them down. They can also lose to anybody on any given night. And no better example of that tonight in Utah. Jazz, I'm stealing this from your notes here. Jazz were 0-10 without Lauri Markkanen this year. And yet they found a way to take down the Wolves. Keontae George scoring a new career high 43 points tonight. Ace Bailey looked great as well. But Wolves defense, man, just turned into an absolute joke down the stretch, giving up 43 points in that fourth quarter. Walk me through it, man. Walk us through it. What happened tonight? What was the biggest Achilles heel, but also big picture? Highest of high ceilings, lowest of low floors, it feels like, for this team. What's the deal? Just something we got to live with this team. Where's the consistency, I guess, game to game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that has been largely pretty consistent, especially since the calendar turned to 2026. But I mean, it's a really bad loss for the Wolves, right? They blow the largest lead of their season, 15 points, blowing that in the second half. Again, second blown lead of 10 or more in the second half on this 3-game road trip, on which they go 0-3. And it was just a really bad time for the Wolves to have an 0-3 spot on the schedule, considering that Houston was right below them in the standings entering this trip, San Antonio right above them. Wolves had a really clean pathway to being the number 2 seed in the West by the end of this road trip, with a rather light schedule upcoming here. Jimmy Butler tearing his ACL notwithstanding. But yeah, the Wolves are now the 6th seed, because don't look now, but the Phoenix Suns are bringing up the rear here, and they move in front of the Timberwolves tonight with the Wolves losing. And then you look at the Lakers are just half a game behind the Wolves, and I know the Lakers are sputtering, but they're going to get Austin Reeves here back at some point on this road trip that they're on. And so the Wolves just, I think, again, kind of are at a point where, they want to make a choice of, hey, are you content with just being top 6, or do you really want to try to push and make some noise and be a 2 seed and potentially avoid OKC until the Western Conference Finals? And so I think this Timberwolves team, I think has a hard time getting up for some of these games. And I think that's an excuse you can make in October, November. But I think at this point, considering how close a lot of these standings kind of watch type of games have come down at the last weekend of the season, the last couple of years for the Wolves, I would think that they've learned their lesson enough times, but that's just clearly not the case. And I also think that beyond players, I do think that there were some unfortunate, rotation things that we'll get into. But I mean, anytime you give up 42 points in the fourth quarter, you deserve to lose. Timberwolves were 3 of 11 in the clutch, 0-4 from 3. They gave up 62 paint points, which is absolutely terrible against a Jazz team with, really only 2 guys that are threats to score down there in Ace Bailey and Keontae George. But they just couldn't stop anybody off the dribble. It was a really tough Jaden McDaniels game in terms of on-ball defense. Jalen Clark, for his money, played really, really well defensively in his minutes. But again, you'd really hope that your all-defensive wing would be capable of, preventing Keontae George from scoring whatever he ended up scoring. 43 points in this game, a career high for Keontae George. But that didn't happen. And then the Wolves only scored 21 bench points, which again, pretty brutal. And then the second half was just super inefficient, right? 8 of 29 from three, 28%. They're 4 of 20 above the break. That's, they normally shoot about 36%, which is fourth in the NBA. They shoot 20% in the second half. And then they only shot 50% on their twos. So even when they got inside, weren't able to convert. They normally shoot 56.7%, which is also fourth in the NBA. So just problematic offense all around for the Timberwolves when you consider what they normally do, and you consider that this Jazz team is the worst defense in the NBA and hasn't been really much better over the last 5 games. So
time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
So you got into the big picture stuff. Let's get into the specifics, the nitty gritty. You're down 1 at halftime. They come out in that third quarter. Great third quarter explosion, 38 points. They go up 12 into the fourth. Kind of take it from there. Where did you see the wheels kind of start to fall off? Where was the biggest turning point from this one when things just started to get away and got way too sloppy for this team?
Yeah, I had a whole turning point written before we got to the fourth quarter, but that obviously changed.
Isn't that fun?
It's I got to say, I'm normally pretty good with notes doing this live show with quite literally no time to prep, but that the blown leads in the second half are what frustrate me as somebody who's creating content more so than than as a fan. But yeah, I think again, it's got to be the start of the fourth quarter, right? And I think again, you had all this momentum in the third quarter. Nas comes in. They go on, I think it was like a 17-4 run. After Nas checks in, kind of generates some flow back in the offense. You see Ant really start to cook. Ends up having, I think, 12 points the last 5 minutes of the third quarter, which was great. But again, then to start the fourth quarter, I just didn't love the lineup that the Timberwolves had out there. It was clearly a let's play defense lineup with Mike, Dante, Jaden, Nas, and Rudy. And that's a good lineup for trying to play defense, right? Considering that you're not going to, let's just assume for this case that the Wolves didn't want to throw Ant right back out there and have him play, 15 straight minutes or whatever it would be on that foot. On the surface, again, not a bad lineup, but I just, the Timberwolves for the majority of this season, I would say in probably 80% of their games start the second quarter and the fourth quarter with the same lineup. And they didn't do that tonight. The second quarter, they had a lineup out there that had Mike Conley out there still. Normally Bones plays at the start of the second quarter, so I would have liked to see Bones play. And then they had Johan Berenjay play at the start of the second quarter as well. So they didn't, it was kind of rare minutes to start the second quarter. The Wolves have no Randall, no Rudy. So that second quarter starting lineup was Mike, Dante, Jaden, Nas, and Johan. And they run out that same lineup, but with Rudy instead of Johan. And then, again, don't go to Bones Highland. I think my biggest problem with this is that, you hear all this noise about the Timberwolves are sniffing around trying to, upgrade the backcourt, and that's fine. But like Mike Conley is not part of the future of this team. I think there's a real chance that Bones Highland could be part of the future of this team. And I think what is frustrating, certainly for fans, is that, you lose this game, but you don't gain anything from it in terms of developing guys, right? Like, I think fans are okay if you take one on the chin because you're playing Bones, you're playing Johan, they're getting some, valuable minutes trying to grow towards, pieces that they can be 3 months from now once we get into the playoffs. And the Timberwolves just continue to stick with Mike Conley. I mean, it's very clear that they're prioritizing him over Bones Highland. And I think that that just continues to be, a bit of a bummer. And I think, again, when you have a defensive-oriented lineup and they play 3 minutes, 11 seconds, and they have they quite literally get 0 stops. They have 8 possessions. They gave up a made field goal on 7 of them, and they give up free throws on the other possession. So Utah scored 16 points in that 3 minutes and 11 seconds. And again, you still see, Mike Conley 15 minutes, Bones Highland 4 minutes. I'm not saying that's the reason why they lost, but it's just a bummer that continues to be a sticking point. And the Timberwolves also just didn't give Anthony Edwards the ball enough in the kind of the start of the clutch time. I think Randall had the ball, Jaden had the ball, Nas had the ball at points in there, and I just didn't think that they tried to get the ball to Ant in advantageous situations until the game was kind of already away from them when Ant had that nice little 6-point spurt. But again, I just think that the Timberwolves didn't bring the requisite defensive energy to come to play tonight in the fourth quarter, especially, and that's certainly the reason why they lost.
Plenty more to get into here, Jack. What we'll be talking about tomorrow. And also, I want to ask you what we're second guessing right now. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. You ever go check your bank account and go, where'd all my money go? Dining out, online shopping, entertainment. So easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Not just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, your spending. It's all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and instead you start building some wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You're getting 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA. You're getting half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Without a doubt, most fun I have playing daily fantasy. You can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season, and why I love it, so easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players, you pick more or less on their projected stats, points, rebounds, assists, 3-pointers, you name it, they got it. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay. Quick and easy deposits in your account all season long. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, Jack, before we get into what we'll be talking about, biggest second guess from tonight. Here we go.
Since hindsight is always 20/20, let's deliver today's second guess.
All right, biggest second guess tonight after this embarrassing loss in Utah. What part of the game, rotations, a specific player, whatever it may be, what part of the game do you want back the most right now here, Jack?
Yeah, I think if I'm the Timberwolves, what I want back the most is just the fact that some of these guys just didn't play super hard at the start of the fourth quarter. And I think that's obviously a bummer. And I think too, you also want back Jaden McDaniels' performance on defense, right? I think you go up and down the line and see how they shot on him tonight. And it's not super pretty. I thought his screen navigation was really poor in this game, especially on Keontae George, and just allowed him to get in too much of a rhythm. And I guess, that's also part of the reason, just looking at the rotation from tonight, why Johan Berenger might have not played more, right? I mean, Jalen Clark played in the non-Rudy minutes with Randall and Reed in the front court in the first quarter, and did it again in the third quarter, and did it again in the fourth quarter. And, part of the reason why they needed him out there was not necessarily because, Jaden McDaniels was off the floor, but because they put him in over Jaden McDaniels, because Jaden McDaniels wasn't able to stand anybody up on the drive, and he was too late getting around screens and had to try to trail and just wasn't able to make the same impact or river contesting that, we've come to see from him, because he was, step behind where we normally see him. And so I think his performance kind of muddied the rotations even further. And I just think that, again, they're like, arguably the most important thing in the playoffs is health. I think you can make a claim that almost every NBA title for the last, 6-7 years has an asterisk attached to it because of major injuries, whether it happened in the finals, in the Western Conference Finals, whatever the case may be, that completely shifts the balance of power towards one team winning and getting to the finals or winning the finals. And again, Johan Berenger allows you to kind of load manage all three of Nas, Rudy, and Julius kind of at the same time. I think Rudy Gobert has been absolutely outstanding for the Timberwolves this season. I think he is without a doubt the defensive player of the year in my mind, and I've sung his praises repeatedly on this show. But I think that it's totally fine if Rudy Gobert plays 28 minutes some nights, or or Julius Randle plays 27 minutes, or Nasri only plays 23 minutes, because we're making sure that Johan Berenger gets 12 or 13 minutes, essentially 2 shifts in every single game. I think that's totally fine. I don't think that maybe the Timberwolves over the course of the season lose one game because of that. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to handicap that, but I just think that that's also something that has to be part of it too, because I think the thing that sticks out to me about Jan is he just plays super hard, right? He's going to make mistakes for sure. It's kind of like TJ Shannon. He's going to make mistakes, but they're going to be because he's playing hard and maybe going too fast, and not necessarily because he's not trying, And I think that fans totally live with guys who make mistakes because they're just trying. And
that's the only way to learn too for these young guys.
Totally.
You got to soak up these. You can't learn from the bench at the end of the day, Jack. You're right.
Totally. And I think the other part of it too is like they're not playing in Iowa, right? And so I think the main thing you got to do is just find ways to manufacture minutes for them. And again, look, like we saw Jaden McDaniels play point guard against the Rockets and did so pretty successfully, I might add. So he can bring the ball up the floor. And I think, again, if we're really getting down to it, I think you can create some plenty good defensive lineups with Johan in there, and then Mike off the floor. And then if you need a guard in there defensively, that you can put Jalen Clark in there at the point of attack, or Dante or Jaden, or even Ant, and get away sufficiently. I just think that the Timberwolves are playing Mike Conley too many minutes right now, and I think that they could stand to load manage each of their 3 bigs a little bit down the stretch to make sure that they're healthy going in, while also giving Berenger some really nice reps heading into the playoffs, where he potentially may have to play with foul trouble that we end up seeing, or just throwing a curveball at different times, like we saw the TJ Shannon button get pressed in that one Oklahoma City game, which he had like 17 points in the first half of that playoff game. I think it was game 3 maybe at home, or game 4. That the Timberwolves just absolutely boat raced the Thunder. I mean, those types of things happen in the playoffs, but I think all these guys need to really experience what it's like to be out there in the throes of it. And I think, again, if you're not willing to do that, up double digits against the Utah Jazz, down several guys, it's concerning a little bit.
This is what you'll be talking about.
So again, we hit on a lot of the meat and potatoes. Big picture, though, what should we be talking about? What are you going to be thinking about tomorrow morning after a loss like this for the Wolves?
Yeah, I think what I'll be thinking about is mostly just the kind of the standings, right? I think I've been generally when the Wolves aren't playing, even on nights like tonight, the Wolves aren't playing until 8. I watched the entire Suns-Sixers game earlier tonight. And there's other teams out there that are just playing really hard right now. And there's certainly every other team in the league has losses like tonight. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. The Wolves are not unique in that. Every fan base of every team is really upset with their head coach for rotations or certain decisions that happen over the course of every season. So that's not necessarily something that's unique to the Timberwolves, but I do think that the Timberwolves just need to have a little bit more of a heightened sense of urgency right now. I think they did a really good job at the start of the new year, and then just kind of fell off and seemed like they just kind of accepted the fact that they had a couple of schedule losses, at least in the first half of that San Antonio game, which ultimately was too big of a hole for them to climb out of. And then tonight just didn't bring the requisite energy for 4 quarters, and just expected the Jazz to just kind of roll over. And I think, again, it's just kind of, you got to run through first base, right? I think for the Wolves, it's just a situation where there's just way too much talent in the NBA today, even on some of these teams that are tanking and maybe not putting their best product out on the floor every night in case they end up losing, boo-hoo. But I think, again, case like Keontae George, super talented guard, made the Wolves pay. Isaiah Collier, really solid bench guard that made the Timberwolves pay. I mean, again, all these guys in the NBA can really get after it. And I think that it's about coming with a level of seriousness and effort. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that we saw the Bucks do against the Wolves last week when the Wolves didn't have Ant and Rudy, and they just didn't necessarily come with a seriousness and a level of focus that's needed. And I have no doubt about it that the Timberwolves, especially going up against Steph Curry, coming up for 2 games this weekend on Saturday and then next Monday, will bring it. But again, the Bulls, another team that is talented and can beat you with a lot of different weapons that they have offensively between Giddey, Buzelis, Vucevic, Kobe White, who's healthy now. So they just really have to lock in. And I think, again, this Timberwolves team likes kind of digging themselves a hole for them to climb out of. And now they've kind of got one a little bit right now in the standings. But the good news is they are very much in control of their own destiny. And in terms of the top 6, have arguably the easiest schedule and the fewest back-to-backs of any of those teams. So that's something just to kind of keep an eye on. So the sky's not falling, but I think that if you let too many nights like this take place, then things can become a little bit problematic. But we'll see if it becomes a thing. I think that hopefully this 3-game stretch is just a blip, but we'll see. Tough to lose 3 straight given the standings where they are. But the good news is their best player continues to play awesome basketball, and I think that's something to at least be able to hang your hat on and hope that everybody can kind of join them here upcoming on this homestand.
Well said, Jack. Tough to digest this one tonight. T-Wolves blow a 12-point 4th-quarter lead in Utah, 127-122. That was the final. 27-17 now on the year, 10 games above 500. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat with us from game to game. You guys were great. Per usual tonight, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go follow Jack too at Jared Borman 13. We'll catch you back here Thursday, back at home, taking on Chicago, 7 p.m. tip for that. Until then, appreciate all you guys. We'll talk to you next time.